Hi, Linda. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. I not hearing you as well. Hey, everybody. Welcome. How are you enjoying the conference so far? Okay, looks like we're having just a couple of technical issues. So give us a couple of seconds and we will be right with you. Hey, Linda, how about now? Oh, still can't. Let me just ask if everybody can hear me. Linda, can you speak and see if they can hear you? Okay. Hey guys, can you just help me confirm if you can hear me? And then if you can hear Linda, because I'm not hearing Linda. Oh, you can't hear Linda. Got it. Um, how about now? Fingers crossed. No. Hey Linda, can you see if you're muted? Is your mic on? All right, let me see if I can chat with you. Okay, guys. So I am just checking with Linda to see if her mic is on. Give me 2 seconds. I think I'm hearing something.
You can hear me now? I can't hear a word you're saying.
Oh, you can't hear me, but is everybody hearing her? Fingers crossed. Linda,
if you
can
just
you
let
say
me
something?
know if you can hear me. But I can't hear you. You can hear me? Okay, you just tell me when to go and I will.
All right.
But I won't be able to hear anything you're saying.
Counting down.
Okay, are we all set? Hi, my name's Linda Glaz, and I'm from Hartline Literary Agency. I apologize for the whatever's going on, but as long as you can hear me, then we're good. I'm going to talk to you today about the role of an agent and what you can expect when you begin to look for an agent. How do you handle that professionally, and so that you're going to come across as the professional writer that you are, so that when you contact an agent or an editor, they're going to be impressed right from the get-go. Um, Everybody's afraid the first time they decide they're going to contact an agent. And that's usually because they think an agent or an editor is way up here and that you're unsure of what to expect. But I guarantee they're like everybody else, and they're actually very interested in what you have to say and what you're going to show us with your work. So let's see. The first thing we want to do is, how are you going to make contact with that individual? First of all, you're going to go to the agency site and find out exactly what they want. If they tell you that they work strictly through email and they don't accept hard copies, then you're going to send them only an email. They might also tell you whether they want only a query letter or whether they want a full proposal or whether they want the full manuscript. And that's very important that you send exactly what is asked for, because then right away you look like the professional that you want to look like. How about in person? Where are you going to meet agents and editors? Conferences, workshops, conferences like this one, where you have the opportunity to talk with people, meet new people, and network. And by referral, if you have a friend that's in the industry, don't be afraid to ask them to shamelessly help promote you to an agent or an editor. Knowing not how not to contact them. So often, well, let's just say that most of us at this point in the industry have electronic offices, and the people that didn't before the pandemic do now. So most of us work from our home offices, and that tells you that we want to do things electronically. We don't want to receive a manuscript that is 10 inches thick on our front door with a nice little note attached that says, if you're not interested, please dispose of this by shredding. Most of us are not going to sit there and shred 500 pages of a manuscript for anyone, not even for ourselves anymore when we can do everything electronically. So understand that most of us now have electronic offices. It's no longer a matter of everyone working in New York City and having to live in the city in order to be in the industry. We're now spread out all over the world. Hartline, one of the oldest Christian inspirational and general market agencies, is out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but we're spread out all over. There are two of us in Michigan, two in Pennsylvania, and two in North Carolina. So we're really all over the country, but we have our one main office in Pennsylvania. And that's the way of it for most agencies and publishing houses now as well. So let's see some do's and don'ts. Oh my goodness. There are a couple really serious don'ts that you want to take into account. One gentleman friend, agent friend of mine, was in the restroom, standing at the urinal, obviously preoccupied, when another gentleman came up and said, "Here's my proposal. Can you take a look at it?" Um, Not at the moment, thank you very much. So obviously that was not the right way to approach an agent. A female agent had a similar circumstance when she was sitting in a restroom and a little proposal came sliding under the door to her. Again, not the right time, not the right place. So Just take that into account when you decide you're going to get to know an agent or an editor. So that's something not to do. The right thing to do, outside of contacting people in their office, would be at a conference when someone is sitting down for a meal. We love to surround ourselves with new authors to sit and be able to talk during a meal and get to know them better. In the hallway, in the ever popular elevator. Has everyone heard about the elevator pitch? This is a tagline or an overview of your novel in 25 to 30 words. And it's the perfect opportunity when you just run into someone and they say, "And what do you write?" Because too often, if you're not prepared and someone says, "What do you write?" you stand there and you stammer and you start out with, "Well, it's a story. It's a romance. Well, it's kind of a romance suspense, and it's about these two people, and they're like, this guy, really cute guy, cute, and blue eyes and brown hair and kind of tall and and then she's kind of blondish reddish kind of curly hair, and she has these kind of green blue eye cute dimples, and they're on that they're well, and then you stammer for the next 10 minutes, and by then the elevator has long come and gone, and it's really too late to let the person know exactly what your story is about. However, if you are waiting and hoping to bump into someone in network and they say, "Oh, it's nice to meet you. Where are you from? What's your name? And what do you write?" And you're able to go, "Well, I have this great story." It's about a scarred FBI agent who tracks a serial killer who uses the Bible as his operating procedure. 14 words or less, and I know exactly what that story's about. And honestly, I'm interested. And I can say that because that's how a client got my attention and is now an author with Revell. 14 words. I may have paraphrased it wrong, but his was exactly 14 words, and it completely intrigued me to want that suspense novel. So when you're prepared with that one line or two short lines about your novel, that elevator pitch or tagline is what might be the one thing that you use in networking that gets your foot in the door. So be prepared. Now, once you're ready to send to an agent or an editor, you're going to go to their agency site and see exactly what they want. If they want just a query letter, which honestly isn't very common today, most agencies and most editors want a full proposal. If you're not sure what that is, go to Hartline's site under submissions, and it will show you a fiction and a nonfiction proposal and a breakdown on how you put that together. So if it's just a query letter, keep it short and sweet. Make it about 3 paragraphs long. Your first paragraph is going to tell us a little bit about you. Your second paragraph is going to tell us a little bit about your book. Get your tagline in there. I even, when I'm sending my clients' works to editors, I put that tagline or that elevator pitch right at the top of the letter. I want it to pull them in right away and get their interest. So then paragraph 2 is going to be about your book, and paragraph 3 is going to be about your marketing, your platform, the dreaded thing that everyone hates, and is going to say, I have this completed, or I will have this completed by such and such a date. And then that's going to finish your letter. It doesn't need to be very long, just enough to intrigue us about you and intrigue us about your work. And if it's a full proposal, you're going to give us all kinds of information. So be prepared. We're going to want to see a short biography about you, the kind you would see on a jacket blurb. We're going to want to see a long biography about you where we can actually get to know you a little bit. Then you're going to give us a short blurb about your book, again, like the back of a book jacket. Then we're going to want to see a long summary. This summary is going to be 2 to 5 pages long, depending on the length of your book and depending on how long it takes you the major points of the entire story. You're not gonna, if it's a suspense novel, you're not gonna leave it with and read the whole manuscript if you want to know what happens to her as that hand reaches around the corner for her throat. That's not how you want to write a summary. A summary is the entire major points of your story from beginning to end. No one's going to steal your idea. We all have enough voices in our heads with all the stories that we need. So we need to have the entire story told to us in the synopsis. Then you're going to give us a comparative analysis. A comparative analysis gives us an idea of 4 or 5 books from the last 5 years where your readers would probably also read their books. It's not you telling us, I write like Mary Higgins Clark or I write like Lynette Eason. It's showing us some of those books and saying, I would be going after the same readers as Lynette Eason or Mary Higgins Clark or whoever it is that you feel you would be looking at the same readership. Then you're going to have a marketing analysis. This tells us who your target audience is. Now, this is really important. What I don't want you to do, I had a friend years ago who wasn't going to get an agent or an editor. She wanted to do it herself. And I said, well, let's at least make sure you understand the industry a little bit. I said, who is your target audience for? Now, she wrote children's book for very young children. Her response to me was, everyone from 2 to 92 who's young at heart. And I said, no, absolutely not your target audience. I said, your target audience is probably going to be parents of 2 to 4-year-olds, and obviously 2 to 4-year-olds. And your secondary audience might be aunts and uncles and grandparents of small children. Your target audience, you need to know who they are before you even start writing. Otherwise, who are you writing for? If I had a friend who was in her 70s and she was writing a 70-year-old romance, her target audience would not be 25 to 40-year-olds because they don't want to read about old people in love. So think about that. Know who your target audience is. Now, if you were writing a romance that involved horses or a veterinarian who took care of horses or dogs, your primary audience in this romance is probably 25 to 45 or 50 or so if you have 30-year-old characters in it. And your secondary audience might be people who love dogs, horses, or cats, or those who are involved in animal shelters. So you need to know your primary and secondary audiences. That's your target audience, and only you can know who that is. Lastly, is your market strategies. Market strategies are you telling us exactly what you can do to partner with a publisher and to partner with us as agents to get your name out there and to get your work out there. Gone are the days, for the most part, when you go to, as a new author, you go to a publisher and they, wow, this is so great. We're going to give you your own editor, your own publicist. We're going to give you everything you've ever dreamed of as an author. That's a lovely thought, but those days are pretty much gone. The industry has cut back and streamlined so much that even best-selling authors might not have their own publicist at this point, but would share it with 2 or 3 other best-selling authors. So you have to assume that it's going to be part of your job to help promote your work. The more you can show yourself on social media, speaking engagements, and all these types of opportunities, the better it's going to look to the publishing house to decide whether they want to take you on or not. So, being very truthful, but do not hold back. You want everything on that platform that you can possibly put there. To be honest, I've actually had a couple Christian authors tell me when I explained this to them, and they said, "Oh, yeah, I'm a Christian. That means I have to be modest. So I'm not about to brag about myself." Well, that's ridiculous. You need to tell everything that you do to get your name out there. I have actually had editors tell me that the first thing they do when I send them a new author and information on them is to type that person's name into Google, and they want to see it pop up all over the place like sparklers on the 4th of July. So it's very important that everything that you do be put into that proposal. All right. Then you're going to finish that with 3 consecutive from chapter 1 or from the prologue, 3 consecutive chapters. The reason being, if you get the first few pages read, that's really good. Very often, some agents and editors literally look at page 1. And if it doesn't draw them in, that's the end of it. If page 1 is nothing but description and backstory, your chances of getting picked up are pretty weak because something has to happen to make us turn to the next page. If you're unsure what I mean, excuse me, look up James Scott Bell. This is really good exercise to do as a new author anyway. Go to Amazon, look up some of these authors that I'm going to tell you about. And you know how you can just look inside and see their first couple pages? That's really good. A good thing to do is to look up best-selling authors, look at their first 2 pages, and see what it is about their writing that made that editor or that agent keep reading enough to want to represent and have their book. All right, go to look up James Scott Bell. The series called Force of Habit. It's a series of 5 novellas. Every single first page will wow you and draw you in. He has an amazing author. His first pages will always just knock your socks off. For a general market author, look up Janet Ivanovich, the Stephanie Plum series. Her first pages, same thing, are absolutely awesome. They wow the reader and draw the reader right in. And that's really important. If you're only going to get the first page read, it better be good, right? You want to knock somebody's socks off. An author that I picked up, Kate Breslin, her book For Such a Time drew me in for such a time. Her very first page, a young Jewish woman, was sitting there thinking as she woke up about what she saw and what she smelled. And she smelled, it was a sickening sweet odor, and she saw white flakes in the air. And as you read on, you realize she's experiencing the crematoriums during World War II in Germany as they burned the bodies in the camps. That first page was amazing, drew me right in. I literally sat at my desk for the next 12 hours reading, taking notes, and deciding that I had to have that book. So that's really important. And that's a real help just as a writing exercise. Pick out a lot of best-selling authors from the Amazon lists. You can just type in bestsellers. Go to that, look inside and see what was it about that first page that intrigued an agent or editor enough to want to take on that book. Okay, so that's basically what you want to do. You're going to contact that agent or editor with a full proposal if requested, and that is the most requested. Be sure that you present it in a really professional manner. You're not going to send it to them with giant fonts that take up the whole page. Everything should be Times New Roman. It should go to them in a Word document, 1-inch margins all around, nothing fancy, no curly cues, no pictures of this and that, no little puppy pictures in the corners. Present yourself as a professional, and that goes a long way. In a proposal, everything is single spaced except for the 3 sample chapters, which are double spaced, just like a manuscript. And it will go to that agent or editor as a Word doc attachment. Unless they have said they don't want attachments, they want you to cut and paste it into the letter. And that's okay too, no big deal. And that's the way you're going to contact them. And that's the way they're going to think of you as a professional author. And you're going to appear that way, and it's going to impress them because we get so many that aren't. And please don't do this. I had a gentleman contact me once upon a time when I first started 9 years ago. And he said, God wrote this book for me. I just wrote it down for him. And he told me you were to be my agent. And the writing was horrible. But I still try to be nice when I respond. And I said, I'm sorry, this is not a good fit for me. I don't think the writing is quite there yet. So I'm going to pass. And he wrote back and said, I don't know if you heard me right or not, but I told you that God told me you were to be my agent. So it's on you now. And I should have simply not responded again, but I was new. And I wrote back again and I said, well, no, I think I'm still going to pass. This is not quite right for me. At that point, he started getting rather nasty and saying, you're going to have to answer to God for this one day. And I hope you know that. And I finally had to block him on my email. And just understand, this is a small industry. That's not the right way to get someone as your agent. If I had loved the book at that point, I would not have accepted it because I knew right away he was not going to be a teachable spirit. He was not going to be someone who listened. And so I had to pass on that. So that's what you do not want to do. If someone writes you back and gives you some help and some advice, sometimes if I think somebody's got a really great story, but it's not quite there yet, I might send back some notes on the first page or so and just tell them, wow, I think you've got a great story idea here, but the writing's not quite there. Let me see if I can help you a little. If they're having issues with show versus tell, I might send them back a handout on show versus tell. Um, if you get that kind of response back, just be like, well, thank you very much. And, and then move on. And sometimes I'll tell someone, I just love the story idea, but your writing's not quite there. But if you rewrite this and send it back to me in another 6 months or so, I'd be happy to have another look. So you're going to get all kinds of responses. You're going to get some friendly, some not so friendly. Hopefully, if you're contacting a Christian or an agent who handles Christian as well as general market, that they will at least have a big enough heart to be nice when they write you back. Um, you won't always get that in the secular or general market community, but hopefully you do. When I was sending out proposals when I was a new author, and we're talking a lot of years ago, it was all done by paper through the post office. And very often I'd get back a note that just said, no thanks, over the top of my query letter, and then sent back to me. And some would just send my query letter back with nothing on it at all. And it was all guesswork. But understand, rejection comes with being an author. It truly is not personal. It just means that wasn't the right agent or right editor for your work. It takes the right agent, the right editor, the right moment. It's it's in timing. And that isn't always what we want to hear, but that's a fact. So we have a few minutes left. If anyone would like to ask some questions along the comment line, I would be happy to answer them if I can. Again, just know I can't hear you guys for whatever reason. If you want in the comments to ask me any questions, I would be happy to answer them for you. Just one thing, again, understand that it's all timing and that just let your work be blessed. Do your job, write the story, and then start trying to get it out there after it's gone through your critique partners, which are gold, and then shoot it out there so other people can have a look at it. Do we have any questions?
Linda, I think you can't hear me
No,
still.
it would have to come in the comments. So I'm so sorry. Um,
Okay.
if I can't get questions from you, then let me finish with a couple other things. Discouragement is incredible in this career. I have at least three-inch ring binders full of paper rejections from way back when. I have a couple 2-inch 3-ring binders full of paper rejections, and I don't know how many 1-inch ones. I could paper my office, my house, and probably Grand Central Station with all of the rejection letters. It took meeting the right agent at a conference whose assistant, not even the agent, but whose assistant loved my story and that got my work, finally accepted me and got my work out there. My first novella was 18 years after I started writing. I had entered a contest at one point, and I had come home from shopping or somewhere, and there was a message on my phone. And she said she'd be calling back. And about 10 minutes later, she called again. And she said, I was one of the judges in the contest that you were in. I just wanted you to know that I loved your story idea, but the writing is not quite there yet. However, I wanted to tell you not to give up. My word for you is going to be perseverance. And I'm going to tell you, every time in that 18 years that I got discouraged, I'd pick up a magazine or an article, or I'd be talking to someone, and the word that I would hear was persevere or perseverance. It became my word from God that kept me writing and kept me not giving up. And 18 years is a really long time to wait to see your novel or novella in print and, in ebook form. So I don't want any of you to give up. I want to share that word with you and know that some of the very best works in the world are still sitting in someone's desk drawer. And that's because they gave up. They weren't thick skinned enough to stick with it. So all of you need to remember your book, if you don't give up, you keep learning, you keep attending conferences, continue to work with your critique partners, letting others other than mom and your best friend read it for critique. You will make it, but persevere, never give up. Thank you guys so much. God bless you. God bless your writing. Okay, we've got a question here. Hang on. Oh, what grabs my eye right away? Oh boy, that's that first page. Honestly, one of James Scott Bell's opens something like this. I should have pulled it up so you could see it. Um, it's something about most people go into a church to pray, but all bets are off after baby Jesus is stolen. And it's just his opening, not even his opening pages, but his opening lines are amazing. If you get right to the action and right to something happening right away, that gets my attention. Okay. Oh yeah. It says I love to do my queries with a starting question that's relevant to the plot. How do you feel about that as a hook? Yeah, that's fine as long as you answer that question at the same time. Cindy and Dave Lambert do a wonderful workshop on proposals. And one of the things they suggested is to put in a quick line. And if I do this again at the top of the proposal, something to this effect. Imagine Gone with the Wind meets Twister. You've got the play on words with wind and Twister. You realize right away it's going to be probably some plantation historic romance with uh, with a couple that's broken up or whatever. But it just gives you something to make you think right away. And then if you answer it with your tagline, that would be amazing. So anything that's just going to pull someone in with a hook is fine. If that's your way of doing it, that's great. Some general guidelines on improving your writing. Oh, absolutely. Show versus you need to understand trends in the industry. When I get a new author's book and it's written in an omniscient point of view, I realize that they're not reading today's authors at all. They're mostly reading authors from the 70s, 80s, and 90s or before, when omniscient was still very popular. And it still can be. Most authors who wrote it for decades, their readers are used to that. But the trends in publishing today are for deeper POV. And that means you stay in one character's head at a time, either per scene or per chapter. You don't head hop, you don't pop in and out of different points of view. And show versus tell helps to strengthen that. If you can find classes on deep POV, and I'll tell you some of the quick trends in staying in deeper POV. If you read along and it says, I think someone, or he thought someone might be on the other side of the door. As soon as you say he thought, he felt, she wondered, immediately you're reminding the reader that there's an author saying she wondered something. When you stay right with the action, then you're staying in that character's point of view more. Even dialogue tags interrupt point of view. If you can, instead of saying, let me see, he I love you so very much, he said lovingly. There's those dreaded adverbs. Instead, if you say he reached out, put his hands around her shoulder and rubbed her neck, I love you very much. You've given us a physical action instead of saying he said. You've given us a physical action followed by his dialogue, and that keeps us deeper in point of view as well. So, staying probably the thing a new author does the most is writes backstory at the beginning of their novel, tons of description, tons of backstory, and then around chapter 3 they actually get to the story. That's probably one of the biggest problems, is that new authors stories don't really start on chapter 1. They usually start on chapter 2 or 3. Let's see if I can take one more question here. um, oh, for nonfiction authors, yeah, for you, let me tell you right now, I just got told by an editor friend, when they're looking for platform, they're looking for serious celebrity platform. So, just to be honest with yourself, you probably aren't going to land a contract with HarperCollins, even if you do speaking engagements and are pretty active on social media. Unless all of your social media aspects are maxed out completely with followers, unless you have one of the top 100 blogs in the country, nonfiction is going to be a hard nut to crack. But your chances are good with midline and smaller publishers, and once in a while with a bigger publisher. But it's pretty rare. Larger publishers are really looking for serious celebrity status for nonfiction. But even fiction is needing more platform than it used to. So I think is that the last one I can take? Internal dialogue, keep the reader. It can. Internal dialogue can really be overused, so just don't overuse it. You want plenty of it, so we get to know your character and learn who he or she is. But a person's actions, what you show us about that person, is even more important, because I can mentally think of myself as a mental giant of agents. But if I don't do anything or I'm no help to my clients, it doesn't matter what I actually think of myself. So, yes, it's important. It builds their personality. Oh, this is a whole class, darn it. Um, Internal builds that person's personality, but their actions toward other characters in the novel actually show us more sometimes than what their internal thoughts are. So I think that's it for now. But anytime, if any of you ever have questions, I'm happy to try to answer them for you. On our agency site, if you can check and see what my email is, it's linda@hartlineliterary.com. You can contact me anytime you want with questions. If I can help you, I would be happy to. just put in the subject line conference, and then I'll know I've met you at a conference. Even if it's virtually, that's fine. If I can help, or sometimes if you have a specific question, I might be able to send you a handout that would help a little bit. So my heart's with new authors. Of course, I want every author I have to be a best-selling author, but my heart has always been with new authors. So I just love to meet you all here, and I hope you guys do great with your writing. God bless you all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Linda. My goodness, there's so much that we learned today, especially be a teachable spirit. That's a wonderful takeaway. So you're really approachable. You're lovely. Thank you so much, guys. We have so much more ahead. So stay tuned for Poonja's live stream. Poonja, we can't wait to learn from you and to learn how to breathe as authors. All right, guys, jump over to the next session. We'll see you there. Bye.